everybody, how's it going? Lord Josh here once again. I had a very interesting message today actually on Facebook from one of my close friends and viewers. And he says, Lord Josh, you talk about many subjects varying from spirituality to cars, bodybuilding, but how come you haven't touched on politics since Lamat Live 3 of 2015? And he has a very good point here. And I'm not sure if I've ever disclosed this publicly, but I made a pledge, or an oath rather, to myself in 2015 that I wasn't going to speak about politics ever again. Or at least I wasn't going to talk about politics on its own, unless it happened to cross paths with spirituality or occultism. Then I was going to address it, and I believe I have in various videos and blogs. However, I think that when you're an occultist, and most especially when you're following the lamatological path, or the Taoist path, you don't have any regard for leaders. You consider yourself to be a leader, or at least I do. I lead myself. I'm not saying I'm an anarchist, I'm not. But I desire to create my own society, independent from that of the state. I desire to create my own civilization, and my own order. My own very strict order, might I add, because philosophically, I'm a right-wing guy, but I don't vote, I never have, and I never will. I'm not interested in mainstream politics, and I'm not interested in the candidates they have to offer today. And the main reason for that is, if you look at the people in power, they don't set a very good example, in my personal opinion. I don't think that they are pure enough in their genetics and in their work ethic to create something incredible, to actually produce something worthwhile. Many of these presidents and prime ministers go through their terms of office and they leave no trace behind of their work, of their existence. They come and they go and people forget about them most of the time, especially here in Britain. It works very much that way here in Britain. You cannot tell who's been through leadership. It's pathetic. Ever since Margaret Thatcher, and obviously a few others, there hasn't really been many wonderful leaders in contemporary times. And I'm sick of it. I am very much sick of it. So a lot of people will make videos on politics, and they will say things like, I'm disappointed with this candidate, I want him to change. But they don't realize that the change always comes from the self. Everything comes from the internal perspective. All of these outside exterior voices, they don't matter. They don't matter whatsoever. What matters is the inner voice. Listen to that and let it guide you, and you will be successful in your life. Look at me. I'm sitting on a throne in this wonderfully large estate that's worth about £1 million. You see, these people that often speak about politics and they get so attached to it, no disrespect to them, but they have nothing to offer. They're not successful. They complain and they whine, and they hope that their complaints will be heard by the same government they're complaining to. The system doesn't work for the people, it works for itself. Granted, the people are the glue that holds the system together, yes. But the glue, the people, are not intelligent enough to break free. They are not gifted enough or resourceful enough to do the job required of them. Some people are born to be followers. They're born to be led by leaders and by other people. And people might say, well, Lord Josh, that sounds very elitist, but it's true. We live in a society of elitism, especially Britain. Britain is a class-based society. It always has been, and I hope it always will be. Because you have to distinguish the people from each other, the weak from the strong. You just have to. And there will always be worker drones who exist only to work for those who are superior in intelligence, power, you name it. There'll always be those people to exist just to be used. And that's reality. That might be a shock to some people, but that's just the way it works. However, there are many people who think that by voting and by political activism that they'll somehow change something. All you do is create noise. You add and contribute to the fallout of society. All you do is add a crack into an already broken vase. That's all you do. You contribute and you fuel the fires of what's going on today. All the provocative and perverse, degenerate behavior that's going on today, you contribute to it. If you do this, you contribute to it. So what do you do? How do you break away from the rat race and from this trap? How do you start paying attention to the orchestrated, staged managed political events? Because that's what it is. It's like a theater show. Everything is planned in place for it to happen. One of the greatest ways to flush your mind out is to go off the grid. Take a technology detox for a couple of weeks. That's why I don't upload very often. I go on very regular technology detoxes to just flush my mind out. Get away from the nonsense. And I've often joked with people, I've said many times actually in the past, if I was to unplug my internet, I don't have a television that I use, so I wouldn't have to unplug that. But if I was just to unplug my internet, I wouldn't know who was the president. I wouldn't know who was dating who. I wouldn't know what wars were going on. And do you know what? I wouldn't give a damn. The reason why I wouldn't give a damn is because I focus on working on my own life and building it up and making it successful. And it's worked, hasn't it? You be the judge of that. But I've got many, many expensive things in my house. I'm happy, productive, and healthy. It's worked out for me in a great way, in abundance. And it's not just thanks to my occultism, and partly it is, but it's also thanks to the way I live my life, my principles that I attach myself to, and I don't drift away from them. If I make a pledge, I stick to it. People saying, Lord Josh, make a video on Donald Trump. I don't need to. I don't need to do that. Plenty of other people are doing that. If you go on YouTube, you can find millions of these videos. You won't find too many on people summoning the wind. I guarantee you that. I'm here for more unique purposes. I want to be the world's first Lord Josh Allen, and I intend on becoming that and continuing to contribute my efforts to the community. I disdain the way people operate on this site. I always have. I don't like it. I think it's disingenuous. I think that people have this idea that if they shout loud enough, that they'll be heard. Doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You have a voice, yes, you should use it. But at the same time, think outside the box. Think about how the world is changing and how things are evolving. And politics is one of those avenues, and you should be looking at the hidden hand behind the scenes controlling everything as opposed to the puppet in the dark suit. That's all it is. And it shouldn't be hard for my fellow occultists and ceremonial magicians to see that. You should be on a higher level of awareness, but many of them fall into this trap, and it's not so much your fault. But now that you're aware that it is a trap, you should work to getting out of it. When you realize you've been ambushed, you can get out. But don't get panic-stricken. Don't get paralyzed with fear. Because that's exactly what they want. They feed off of these low energies. They feed off of this fear. But I'm sick of seeing so many talented people on the internet that could use their voice for something greater and their talents for something greater, and they're not doing it. They're emulating other people on here. They're emulating those they consider to be successful. I don't think so. I don't think it works. And if you want to talk about politics, you can, but kindly leave me out of your charades, okay? I'm not interested one bit. I'm summoning the wind, summoning storms, studying Taoism, studying the history of the three kingdoms, and my great master Zhuge Liang, Kong Ming. And I'm fulfilled doing that. All of that I am greatly fulfilled doing. And I've never been happier doing that. Last 2015, when I did Lamat Live 3, when I spoke about politics, and I did it, go back and watch that video. I think it was about 30 minutes long. I was talking about the UK election. When David Cameron was re-elected that time, the Conservative Party. I was talking all about that. And I knew, after I watched the video, that I thought, I'm not really leading by example here. I'm falling into the trap that I criticize and condemn many other people for falling into. I'm falling into it. And I'm not doing my part to drag other people out, because that's how you defeat the system. You don't defeat the system by going to war with it. You defeat the system by pulling yourself out of the situation and abandoning it, letting it crumble. That's how you do it. But people won't put the energy and the effort into what it takes to do that. I'm still waiting on Donald Trump's wall across Mexico. I'm still waiting on all the promises that he's made. I'm not seeing them yet. I'm just not seeing them. All of these people, they come in, they tell you what you want to hear. That's how they get elected. They tell you what you want to hear. And you vote. You vote the puppet on the strings. Ridiculous. How can smart, intelligent people fall for this propaganda? I don't get it. But I'm happy to live in my secluded life as a hermit and to do what I'm doing on my own, carving my own path and identity. There's nothing more rewarding than working on yourself. Don't give energy to any of these politicians today. The last great politician, in my personal opinion, was Jacques de Leon, who was also an occultist, a general, a regent, a diplomat, a logistics officer. He was the greatest, and he's a huge inspiration of mine, Master Kong Ming. But today, I'm just not impressed with what they've got to offer. So I hope that answers your question as to why I don't really speak about politics, and I hope that you found this somewhat informative. Take care. I'll see you soon.